Hi guys! So I have changed up a few things. I don't know if you guys have, well, yes, you would have noticed. I think I'm going to get rid of my intro. I just think it's really like, when I started making YouTube videos, I think I had old school YouTube in my mind, and I kind of feel like, I don't know, tell me if I'm wrong, but I kind of feel like I've seen so many people now who don't have that. So I kind of don't want to do it. It's long, it's kind of unnecessary, and I think I'm going to change my ending as well. So today I'm going to be doing my first ever true crime, get ready with me kind of vibe. I have always loved true crime. This story that I'm talking about today is actually the story that sort of sparked some interest for me. I thought it was really creepy. To be fair, this story is actually it happened in the same hospital that I was born in and the same town that I grew up in. So I think that's also something that really creeped me out about this story. But yeah, I'm gonna start doing these perhaps once a month. I do other panning videos and other sort of makeup related videos if you guys are interested. I know Bailey Sarian does her murder, mystery and makeup Monday, which it has inspired this, obviously. I do want to focus most of my true crimes on British true crime. I think there's something about it happening in the same sort of place that you're in that makes it like really like, ugh, like, I don't know, like, I know this like place. I've been to this hospital so many times, and this horrible thing happened there by this woman who people knew. Like, my family knew her, you know, people around me knew this woman. She did all these horrible things. Today's true crime is Beverley Allitt, who is also known as the Angel of Death. So I am just going to be doing my makeup. I'll try and list everything that I use down below. So yeah, let's just get into it. Beverley Allitt was born 4th of October 1968. She grew up in Corby Glen, which is a village in Lincolnshire. It's just outside Grantham. So Grantham is a little town, but it's sort of neighboured by a bunch of tiny little villages all in Lincolnshire. She had 2 sisters and a brother. Her father, Richard, worked in a liquor license, like an off-license liquor place. I don't know if that's what they're called. And her mother worked as a school cleaner. Beverley attended Charles Reed Secondary School because she failed her 11+, which you need to get into a grammar school, which was the Stephen and Grantham Girls' School. I even tried to get into that school myself, and I think I failed as well. No surprise there, I wasn't the most academic growing up. She would often volunteer for babysitting jobs, and I don't think there was anything like during her, nothing I read initially, like in the early years, that really were like, you know, like you hear about serial killers, they kill animals or something. But yeah. During her early years, she was known for wearing bandages and faking illnesses. She would often swap doctors because they would always find her out for being a liar. And she would always switch and swap. Also, if you see me looking down, I have wrote some notes on this, just because it's a long story. But it's not a long story, but I don't want to get anything wrong, you know, this involves people's lives. So she faked a lot of illnesses. She would constantly change doctors who found her out literally for attention seeking. She actually lied so much to the point where she had her appendix removed, which it didn't need to be removed. And she made sure that like the scar for that surgery healed really slowly by not taking care of it and aggravating the wound, I guess. Obviously that's just my opinion. But I don't know how she physically did it, but she made sure like the scar healed really slowly, so she had that wound for a long time, and then perhaps an even worse scar. I don't really know about that. There wasn't a whole bunch on that. So in 1984, Beverley left high school at the age of 16. She had very few qualifications. Due to illness, she took a lot of sick days. She did become friends with a nurse at the Grantham hospital who gave her all the books and all the tools she would need to begin studying nursing. So at the age of 17 or 18, around that sort of age, she began her pre-nursing course at the Grantham College. So while on her pre-nursing course, Beverley worked part-time at a local pub where she met her boyfriends and some other friends. Her boyfriends would nickname her the Fable because she was always telling stories. Her first boyfriend didn't last very long. There wasn't a whole bunch of information on him. September 1987, she met Steve Biggs and they got engaged. It was reported that she was really abusive to him. She liked to beat him and humiliate him. There's not much said on what happened to their relationship, whether he just sort of stayed for whatever reason. Obviously I didn't read into it, so I don't want to sort of speculate or anything, but I don't know if they were still together while she committed her crimes or what. There's not much information on that. So in September 1988, Beverley was accepted as a state enrolled nurse, and while training as a nurse, some bizarre incidents were linked to her from the dorm that they all had to stay in. So it was said that she would, you know, smear feces all over the wall and set fire to curtains, just a whole bunch of weird things. She was frequently absent from her nursing course, saying she was ill or different injuries. She actually had a total of 160 sick days. That's a lot of sick days. So Beverley wanted to be a children's nurse, but she was initially rejected due to lack of experience in that area. Did manage to get a job in Grantham Hospital in Ward 4, which was the pediatrics ward in Grantham Hospital, because they were severely understaffed and she was just going to be sort of helping kind of thing. But she was there ultimately to gain experience. On February 18th, 1991, Beverley got her job on Ward 4 at the Grantham Hospital. She was accepted into a 6-month program. She was keen to learn, happy to please, and ultimately happy to have the job. Ward 4 was said to be like a quiet, calm, not very much happened. Like a lot of the patients that went in there were going in there for very mild sickness, like nothing crazy. Like none of these people that were going in there were like on death's door kind of thing. So I just think that's really interesting to note, because this whole thing has me like confused, because it just seems like obviously she was guilty, but I don't know, we'll get into that. So she's been accepted. She's on her 6-month contract at the Grantham Hospital. I'm applying so much powder and I have dry skin. I've seen Get Ready With Me's and it's so hard. Like, how do you talk and do your makeup without just piling it on? I don't know. So she's working, she has her job, everything is going fantastic, everything's going great. She's got her 6-month career opportunity, she's getting the experience, she wants to go into nursing, children's nursing. Life is great for Beverley. 7-week-old Liam. I'm not going to include any last names. The last names are such public knowledge, like every single thing I read on this had last names. I don't really know about this. I don't really know if I should be including last names or if it's like totally cool to include them. I'm just kind of being overcautious. So little baby Liam, 7-week-old Liam. He was admitted to Grantham Hospital on Ward 4 for a chest infection. It was nothing secretive. No, it was nothing serious. he was given some antibiotics and he was starting to feel better, so his parents were sent home so they could rest. Since Liam was getting better, they didn't need to be there, they didn't need to worry as much because he was getting better. And then Liam suddenly took a turn. He was getting worse suddenly, and despite being hooked up to all the alarms to monitor his breathing and his oxygen levels, doctors were only alerted to the fact that he was getting unwell and things were going bad when Beverley told them. You know, she rushed out and told them. So he was put on life support, 7 weeks old. He died a day later in his parents' arms on the 21st of February 1991. So no one suspected any foul play. Sick baby, like a hospital is the perfect place to commit these crimes, because as much as like it was said that Ward 4 was a really calm, quiet ward, it's still a place where people come when they're sick. So the sick people dying is not like a wild thought, you know. The only thing that was investigated was the fact that the alarms didn't go off. So her second victim was an 11-year-old boy called Timothy. He was admitted on the 5th of March 1991. He was admitted after having, am I saying that right? Admitted after having an epileptic seizure, and was brought in for, I assume, aftercare and monitoring. Beverley had killed him on the 5th of March. It was really hard to find the information on when they were admitted and then when they died, but I'm fairly sure by reading what I've read that she killed them within days, sometimes the day of these children arriving. It's 8th of March 1991. 1-year-old baby called Kaylee came in with another chest infection. Beverley attempted to murder Kaylee on the 8th of March, but the child was resuscitated and transferred to another hospital where she luckily recovered. And on the 20th of March 1991, which is really creepy because that's my birthday, Paul, a 5-year-old, was admitted to the hospital with a chest infection. Like, that seems like such a common thing that these children are being admitted with, just chest infections and such. And to my knowledge, like, obviously they can, but generally a chest infection is not like deadly. And I don't understand how 3 murders have gone and no one's been like, wait, these only have like, hold up, like, what, why is no one, surely, I don't know, that just seems so strange to me. Anyway, so the nurses called Paul the happy wheezer, because he was happy, he was cheerful, he was just a bit wheezy from a bad chest. So the hospital stay was just a precaution, just to make sure nothing bad did happen, not necessarily because he was really poorly. So Beverley had attempted to murder him with an insulin overdose on 3 occasions before he was transferred to another hospital where he did recover. Beverley actually accompanied the mother in the ambulance to the other hospital, which I think that's so messed up. My gosh, imagine. I don't know, that, just like, gosh, it just makes you question things, doesn't it? I don't know. Blood samples were actually taken from Paul, and on the 12th of April, 16 days after the analysis of Paul's blood, the results discovered 500 mils per litre of insulin in his blood. Now, a child, from what I read, should have 10 to 15 milliliter per litre, I don't know how you say that, 10 to 15 per litre. So he had like an insane amount. No actions were taken though, and nothing was suspected. which is, I don't get it. Why would you not investigate this? Like, even if you thought it was sort of natural, like he would, like that, surely that, I don't know. I'm not a medical professional, but you know, that's a little strange to me. On the 21st of March, 2-year-old Henry was admitted to the hospital following a fall. He suffered an oxygen desaturation attack before he was transferred to another hospital, where he luckily recovered and went on to live a normal sort of life. And on the 21st of March as well, 5-year-old Bradley was admitted to the ward for pneumonia, and Beverley gave him 2 insulin overdoses, which caused him to suffer 2 cardiac arrests. This was on the 21st of March 1991. He was transferred to another hospital as well, where he recovered, thankfully, and again was another one that went on to live a normal life. I assume, but I don't know if I should assume that, like maybe they wouldn't live a normal life knowing that they, and also actually yeah, I shouldn't be saying they live a normal life, because there has been a couple of her victims who suffered really bad after effects, so they didn't go on to live normal lives, but they lived a life, you know, they survived. And then I didn't get the date for this one, but a 6-year-old child called Michael was admitted to the ward for post-operative care after he had to have I think like a pellet or something, an air rifle pellet was removed from his body during an accident, just, you know, an unrelated sort of accident. So he was injected with insulin multiple times through a cannula in his hand. He suffered cyanosis and fell unconscious before being stabilised by other doctors on the ward. He later did make a full recovery. April 1st, 2-month-old Becky was admitted for gastroenteritis. I can't say that. And she was given an insulin overdose by Beverley, and Becky died 2 days later at home. Her death was originally believed to be a cot death, which is obviously a really common death in babies. So yeah, it was believed that she had experienced cot death. A little bit suspicious after how many, and like surely all of these kids are being injected with insulin, so like surely they're gonna have a very similar reaction, like it's gonna do the similar thing to everyone's body. But like, why are they not like linking these, you know, like why are they not going away? That's a little suspicious, a little bit weird. Oh my god, what's that TikTok where it's like, that's suspicious, that's weird. Like that, this is weird, this is suspicious. So Becky's twin sister Kate, who was also 2 months old, was admitted to the hospital as a precaution following her twin sister's death, which is the one that we literally just spoke about, remember, Becky? She had been injected with insulin as all of the babies in Beverley's care had been, which apparently no one was catching on to. Fantastic. But she had been resuscitated twice after an unexplained aapnotic episode, which was later found to be caused by insulin and potassium overdoses. Following the second time, she did actually stop breathing, and she was transferred to another hospital, but by this time her brain had been without oxygen for so long that it caused permanent brain damage and partial paralysis and partial blindness. Kate's parents were so thankful for Beverley. She was always sort of the first one to rush out. She seemed like she was so willing to help that they actually asked her to be Kate's godmother. Yeah. So after suffering a asthma attack on the 22nd of April 1991, 15-month-old Claire was admitted to Ward 4 at Grantham Hospital. I've realised I'm not doing anything with my makeup right now. I'm just applying it and hoping for the best. Claire had been put on a ventilator due to her asthma attack and was being monitored closely by Beverley. She was actually only in Beverley's care for a very short time, where she suffered a cardiac arrest. She was resuscitated. She died after a second cardiac arrest after being left for a very short time in the care of Beverley. Although Claire's death was declared natural causes, the high quantity of cardiac arrests that were happening in Ward 4 at that time raised suspicions, and they decided to raise an inquiry. So there was high levels of potassium found in Claire's blood, and police began to investigate the blood samples of the other children who had suffered cardiac arrest. After ruling out the possibility there could be an airborne virus causing all of these different incidents, it was found that Beverley was the only nurse ever on duty and was at the centre of all of these crimes. 30th of April 1991, police were called because they thought something is happening at the hospital. They didn't really know what. I don't think they had they weren't pointing the finger, nothing like that, but something was happening. There was a pattern. It was an unusual pattern, and I think at this point the nurses and the other staff on the ward, they just wanted answers. What was happening? Why were all these young children coming in with sort of non-serious illnesses, suffering, life-changing and some often fatal cardiac arrest commonly? It was, yeah, I think they were just, wanted help and were suspicious at what was happening, but weren't really pointing the finger yet. So Stuart Clifton, who was the police officer, or what's it called? I don't know what he was. Sergeant? Is that a thing? I don't know. I didn't look that up. Oh well. He thought something wasn't right. A lot of people didn't think they didn't think they had a case. They thought it was just the hospital, people are dying, of course that's happening. They didn't think there was anything wrong, a lot of people. But Stuart Clifton, luckily, he thought something was up. Things weren't adding up. It just didn't make sense. And so he decided to investigate. So they accessed all of the blood samples of all of the children, and they also interviewed people on Ward 4, families, nurses, anyone that was working on Ward 4. And during the investigation, one case stood out to them, which was baby Paul's. Was he a baby? Was he a child? Anyway, young Paul. Thankfully, they had actually taken his blood sample when he got transferred to the other hospital. The initial analysis was off because the machine they used was capped at 500, and the report actually went over 500. So what they thought was 500, it was actually 47,000 per litre, which was the second ever recorded. And it was discovered that the insulin used would have been injected. So any insulin in Ward 4 was kept in a fridge, a locked fridge, and the key was missing. And so the investigators asked Beverley, where's the key? What are you doing? Where's the key? And Beverly's like, you know, I left it with someone else. I gave it to someone else. I don't know. It's not me. Couldn't be me. And then Stuart Clifton, the officer in charge, I'm just going to call him that. I don't know if that's correct. That might not be the term he would use. And he put a timeline together of all the events that had been happening and weird things that had been happening, all these deaths, all these different things. You know, even if they survived, any of these attacks, these cardiac arrests that were happening, they were put together in a timeline by Stuart Clifton, and the one person at the centre was Beverley Allitt. So, Beverley Allitt on the 21st of May 1991 was arrested at her home and was interviewed. Her home was also searched, where they found a syringe, and in the wardrobe they found the nurse allocation books. Now, I don't really know why that's relevant, but they found it, which I guess is like, but that would be a strange thing to hide, I guess, but that's kind of all I know about that. During her interview, Beverley blamed other people. She took no responsibility. She, you know, it wasn't her, basically. That's what she was putting out there. And she was actually released due to a lack of evidence. Like, I think it was one of them cases where they know it was her, but they just couldn't legally do anything about it at the time. So anyway, Beverley was released. Some of the parents of the children that she sort of monitored were really unhappy about the fact that she was even being investigated. They thought she was innocent, and they were outraged that she was even being investigated to begin with. She appeared the hero in all of these situations. You know, she was the one that got the doctor's attention, and whether they lived or died, she tried, and that was kind of what people thought about her. She was placed on leave at the hospital due to being investigated by the police, you know, as they should have. And she moved in with a close friend and her family. So while Beverley was on leave, all of the attacks, funnily enough, stopped. But some weird things started happening at the new house that she was in. Jonathan, the friend that she was with, she was staying with her friend called Tracy. And Jonathan, Tracy's younger brother, bleach was put in his bed, and the dog was given tablets. I don't know what tablets they were, but the dog, their family dog, was given tablets and was found like foaming at the mouth out in the garden. Beverley blamed all of these events on a ghost. Yeah, on a ghost. So they all went shopping. Beverley, Tracy, I don't know who else. I don't know who was there. I'm assuming Tracy was there. Tracy might not have been there. They went shopping. Jonathan was there. And Jonathan complained of feeling poorly. And then while they were shopping, he collapsed and was taken to the hospital. And it was said that he had experienced the exact same attack that all of these children were experiencing. So, you know, they were trying to work it out, like how, you know, what could have happened. And it turned out that just before they went shopping, Beverley had given Jonathan a drink, and Jonathan has said that the drink tasted funny but didn't really think anything of it. It obviously had insulin on it, you know. So Jonathan has now had the same episode that all these children have been having, and Beverley is looking to be responsible. So Beverley was arrested again in November in 1991. So Beverley was eventually charged with 4 counts of murder, 8 counts of attempted murder, and 1 count of grievous GBH, grievous bodily harm. I can't say it. She entered a not guilty plea to all charges. Go figure. But luckily she was eventually found guilty of all charges and sentenced to 13 concurrent life sentences, which she would be serving at the Rampton Secure Hospital in Nottinghamshire. After 1 week in prison, she was refusing to eat and drink and was moved to the Rampton Secure Hospital. And 2 leading experts in their field examined Beverley and her mental state at the time of her arrest and concluded that she was mentally sane, she was fine. She should be in prison and not in a hospital. So Beverley has reportedly admitted to all 13 of her crimes in a failed application to remain in hospital instead of going to prison, but none of the details of that report were ever shared with the family, and I couldn't find sort of any information on that. But to my knowledge, that is the only time she's ever admitted. So it was recommended by her trial judge, that she would serve a minimum of 40 years and only be released once she was considered to no longer be a threat to society. In 2007, Beverley attempted an appeal, but Mr. Justice Stanley Burton, who sits at the High Court in London, confirmed that Beverley must serve the minimum sentence of 30 years. Since her arrest in 1991, in 2018, it was reported that Beverley was in the Nottingham hospital battling sepsis. I didn't read that she passed away from that or anything, so I do think she survived and that was fine, but that was the last sort of reading or noted sort of about her. She's still mentioned quite a lot in my hometown, obviously, where she committed all these crimes. I think it's just one of them things that when the media forget about it, those who knew her remember it, I guess. Not much is known about why she committed any of these crimes. The only thing that is considered is the fact that she had Munchausen's, which would make a rationale for why she did all the things when she was growing up, like the what's it called? Harming herself and causing illnesses and fake illnesses and all these sick days that she had. It would all make sense with Munchausen's. So it was stated that she does suffer from Munchausen's by proxy. And people suffering from this condition are likely to harm others in their care. She's never made any public apology. She's never shown any remorse. Yes, not much is known of her motives, not much is known of her plan. I do ultimately think her plan was to kill. I think her plan was to kill. I don't know. I think her plan was to kill. I don't know how well known she is. Have you heard of this story? Because obviously I'm from Grantham, so I've heard of it. We speak about it a lot. My mum has told me this story on many occasions about Beverley. Because we were all, we were all in that, I was born in that hospital. I was born in that hospital 7 years later. That is the story of Beverley Allitt and her crimes in Ward 4 at the Grantham Hospital. I'm gonna take whatever feedback you give me in my next one. I'm gonna do one next month. I'm gonna do a Christmas themed one next month. I don't know of any serial killers from Christmas time. Let me know if you know any, but I don't know. Someone must have killed someone on Christmas. They must have. I don't know. I hope not, but it would make a good video. I'm just gonna finish my look now and then I'll be back to end the video. I really do hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I know it's a bit different from what I usually do, but I love true crime. and this is definitely one of them stories that sparked my interest, and I remember from being young because it was just spoke about a lot in our town. So yeah, let me know what you thought down below. Give me any suggestions for a next video you want to see, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.